Millionaire sees her driver in the office dancing for her autistic daughter and does the unthinkable. Victoria Thompson stopped at her office door, completely frozen. What she had just witnessed defied all logic she knew about her carefully organized life. Her driver, Robert Wilson, was in the middle of the executive room, making awkward arm movements, swaying his body side to side in a strange dance she had never seen before. And there, in the wheelchair positioned right at the center of the room, was her 8-year-old daughter Emily, clapping and smiling in a way Victoria hadn't seen in months. "Now raise your little arm like this, princess," Robert said affectionately, lifting his right arm while attempting a wobbly spin. Emily followed the movement, her tiny hands mimicking the man's gestures. Her eyes sparkled with a joy Victoria had forgotten existed. The girl, who rarely showed any emotion, was completely engrossed in this improvised performance. Victoria felt her heart race. She had arrived at the office 2 hours early to review important contracts before the meeting with Japanese investors. She never expected to walk into this scene. Robert was supposed to be waiting in the parking lot as usual, and Emily should have been at home with the nanny. "And now let's do the bird dance," Robert continued, flapping his arms like wings. Emily's response was immediate. She began moving her arms the same way, letting out a soft sound that seemed like an attempt to mimic him. Victoria swallowed hard. Her daughter hadn't vocalized in nearly a year. Robert suddenly stopped when he noticed her presence. His face flushed with embarrassment, and he quickly straightened his uniform. "Mrs. Thompson, I can explain," he stammered, removing his cap. But before he could continue, Emily started crying desperately, not the silent tears Victoria was used to, but loud, anguished sobs, as if something very important had been taken from her. Ma'am, it's okay," Robert tried to soothe her, stepping closer to the wheelchair. Immediately, the crying stopped. Emily reached her little arms toward him, a gesture she never made with anyone, not even her own mother. Victoria stood motionless, watching this interaction that felt like it belonged to another world. For 8 years, she had tried everything to connect with her daughter. Expensive therapists, experimental treatments, specialists from New York City and Los Angeles. Nothing had worked like those few minutes of clumsy dancing. "How did you two get here?" she finally asked, her voice softer than intended. Robert hesitated before answering. "The nanny had a family emergency and called me. I thought about taking Emily home, but she started getting restless in the car. Then I remembered you always say the office is a quiet place, so I brought her here to wait until it was time to pick you up from home." "And the dancing?" Robert lowered his eyes. Robert, "She was crying so much. I tried everything, and then I just started moving my arms without thinking, and she stopped, so I kept doing the movements." Victoria looked at Emily, who was now watching the two adults with a focus she rarely showed. There was something different in the girl's eyes, a presence her mother didn't recognize. "How long has this been happening?" she asked. "What do you mean, Mrs. Thompson? Have you done this before? This dance?" Robert turned even redder. "A few times in the car when she got really upset in traffic. But I never imagined you." Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now continuing, Robert Wilson's voice was interrupted by the ring of Victoria Thompson's phone. It was Dr. William Parker, Emily's neurologist. "Victoria, we need to talk. The latest test results have come in, and there are a few things I need to discuss with you." "Now isn't a good time, doctor. It's important. Can we meet this afternoon?" Victoria looked at Emily, who had started clapping again when Robert made a subtle hand movement. "All right, at 3 o'clock. She hung up and approached her daughter. Emily didn't pull away as she usually did. Instead, for the first time in a long while, she maintained eye contact with her mother. "Robert, I need you to tell me everything. Since when have you been doing these dances with her? Since when does she respond like this?" The driver glanced around, as if searching for an escape. "Mrs. Thompson, I know I may have overstepped. I know I'm just the driver and shouldn't have—" "Answer the question," she interrupted, though without sharpness in her voice. "It's been about 3 months. The first time was an accident. We were stuck in traffic on the FDR drive and she was having an episode. I started moving my hands on the steering wheel trying to calm her, and I noticed she was watching me in the rearview mirror. So I made bigger movements and she stopped crying. Victoria felt something strange in her chest. 3 months. For 3 months, her driver had developed a way to communicate with Emily that she, her own mother, had never managed to establish. And then I started doing it whenever she got agitated. At first, it was just simple movements, but then I realized she responded better to certain sequences, so I began creating little choreographies. Choreographies? Robert nodded, clearly embarrassed. For each of her moods, when she's sad, there's one dance. When she's upset, another. When she's happy, like now, it's different. Victoria sat in the armchair by the table, trying to process this. Emily kept watching Robert expectantly, as if waiting for him to start the performance again. "Robert, I need to know one thing, and I want you to be honest with me." "Yes, ma'am. Why didn't you ever tell me about this?" The man hesitated for a long moment. "Because I was afraid you'd think it was strange, or that you'd think I was doing something wrong with the girl. I know there are a lot of bad people out there, and I didn't want you to think—" "I would never think that," Victoria interrupted, surprising herself with the firmness of her reply. "And also because—" Robert paused, looking at Emily. "Because I know how much you suffer with Emily's condition. I didn't want to give you false hope." Victoria felt her eyes welling up. In those few minutes, Robert had shown more understanding of her pain and Emily's needs than many of the specialists she'd consulted. "Show me," she said suddenly. "How?" "Show me one of the choreographies. I want to see how it works." Robert glanced uncertainly at Emily, then back at Victoria. "Are you sure, Mrs. Thompson?" "I am." Robert took a deep breath and positioned himself in front of Emily. He started with slow arm movements, like gentle waves. Emily immediately perked up, beginning to mimic the gestures. "This is the calming dance," Robert explained as he moved. "I use it when she's too worked up." Gradually, the movements became more elaborate. Robert added simple steps, light turns, always keeping a rhythm Emily could follow. The girl responded to every motion, and for the first time in years, Victoria saw her daughter truly engaged with another person. "Now I'll do the happy dance," announced Robert. His movements became more energetic, with small jumps and wide gestures. Emily clapped with more enthusiasm, and to Victoria's surprise, she let out a sound that resembled laughter. She laughed?" Victoria asked, incredulous. "Yes, she did, Mrs. Thompson. It's not the first time." Victoria felt tears streaming down her face. Her daughter had laughed. After months without any expression of joy, Emily had laughed while watching Robert's dance. "Robert, I don't know what to say." "You don't have to say anything, Mrs. Thompson. I just want you to know I never meant to hide anything from you. I did this because Emily deserves to be happy." At that moment, Victoria made a decision that would change their lives forever. She looked at Robert, then at Emily, who was still smiling. "Starting today, you're no longer just our driver," she said, her voice firm but emotional. "I want you to be Emily's full-time caregiver." Robert's eyes widened. "Mrs. Thompson, I'm not trained for this. I'm just a driver who—" "You have something none of the specialists I've consulted have," she interrupted. "You connect with her in a way I never could. I'll triple your salary and you'll dedicate yourself exclusively to helping her." Robert fell silent for a moment, watching Emily. "I really appreciate the offer, Mrs. Thompson, but I can't accept." "Why not?" "Because Emily doesn't need another employee. She needs her mother." Robert's words hit Victoria like a punch to the gut. She knew he was right. For years, she'd delegated Emily's care to nannies, therapists, and specialists, always using work as an excuse not to get directly involved. "Then what do you suggest?" "That you learn with me. That we work together to help Emily, but that you take the lead, not me." Victoria looked at her daughter, who was now watching the two adults with an attentiveness she'd never shown before. "Would you teach me? The dances, I mean." "I'd be happy to, Mrs. Thompson. When can we start?" "Whenever you're ready." Victoria checked her watch. She had an important meeting in 2 hours, contracts to review, business decisions that couldn't wait. But for the first time in years, none of that seemed important compared to Emily's smile. "Let's start now," she said, kicking off her high heels. Robert smiled, the first genuine smile Victoria had seen on his face in months. "Then we'll begin with the basic dance," he said, positioning himself beside Victoria. "First, you need to forget about perfect movements. Emily doesn't care about technique, she cares about intention." Victoria tried to mimic Robert's movements, but her gestures came out stiff and calculated. Emily watched for a moment, but didn't show the same enthusiasm as before. "It's not working," Victoria said, frustrated. "That's normal, you're overthinking it. Try to feel the music in Emily's head." "What music?" "Every person with autism has an internal rhythm. The trick is figuring out Emily's rhythm and dancing with her, not trying to make her dance to ours." Victoria tried again, this time focusing on Emily's reactions. When she made a softer movement, the girl leaned slightly forward. When she sped up the rhythm, Emily grew restless. "I think she likes slow movements," Victoria observed. "Exactly. And repetitive ones too. Watch." Robert did a simple sequence. Right arm up, arms down, clap. He repeated it 3 times, and Emily began to follow along. Victoria tried the same sequence. On the first try, Emily didn't react. On the second, the girl watched more closely. On the third try, to Victoria's surprise, Emily slightly raised her right arm. "She's trying to follow along," Victoria exclaimed. "Yes, she is. Now keep going, but slowly." Over the next 20 minutes, Victoria tried different movements, always watching Emily's reactions. Little by little, she began to understand what Robert had discovered. Her daughter was constantly communicating, but through a language she had never learned to interpret. Victoria's phone rang again. It was Jennifer, her assistant. "Victoria, the Japanese delegation arrived early. They're waiting in the conference room." Victoria looked at Emily, who had started smiling again as she watched her mother's movements. "Jennifer, reschedule the meeting for tomorrow." "But Victoria, they came all the way from Japan to reschedule it for tomorrow," Victoria repeated, hanging up. Robert watched her in surprise. "Mrs. Thompson, if you have important commitments, we can continue later." "Robert, for 8 years I prioritized meetings, contracts, business. Today, for the first time, my daughter laughed. For the first time, she showed interest in interacting with me. There isn't a meeting in the world more important than this." At that moment, Emily made another sound, clearer this time. It seemed like an attempt to speak, even if unintelligible. "She's trying to say something," Victoria observed. "Yes, she is. When she gets excited like this, she always tries to vocalize more." "Robert, I need to ask you a difficult question." "Go ahead. Do you have family, children?" Robert was silent for a moment. "I had a sister. She was special too, like Emily. She left us too soon. She was only 12. I'm so sorry. It was a long time ago, but when I started working here and met Emily, I was reminded of my sister Sarah. That's why I tried to help. I know how hard it is for families." Victoria felt a wave of understanding. Now she knew why Robert had dedicated himself so much to Emily. It wasn't just kindness or professionalism, it was personal. "Robert, I need you to know that from today on, you're not just an employee in this house, you're part of this family." Robert's eyes welled up. "Thank you, Mrs. Thompson, that means the world to me." Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now back to the story. Over the following week, Victoria completely rearranged her routine. She started arriving at the office later and leaving earlier, dedicating her mornings to dance sessions with Emily and Robert. At first it was hard. Victoria was used to strict schedules and inflexible commitments, but gradually she began to notice that Emily responded better when activities were consistent and predictable. "Routine is very important for her," Robert explained during one session. "She needs to know what's coming to feel safe. That's why she always got agitated when I changed the schedule," Victoria realized. "Exactly. And that's also why she responds well to dancing. Each movement has a logical sequence she can predict and follow." During those early days, Victoria also started noticing details about Emily she had never seen before. The way she tilted her head when interested in something, how her fingers moved when processing information, how she blinked more slowly when happy. "Has she always done this?" Victoria asked when she noticed Emily arranging small objects on the table into perfect rows. "Always. It's her way of processing her surroundings. When she organizes things, she's trying to understand the world around her. And I always thought she was just playing aimlessly. Everything Emily does has purpose, Mrs. Thompson. We just need to learn her language to understand." The first big change happened at the end of the second week. Victoria was trying a new sequence of movements when Emily suddenly reached out toward her mother. Not completely, but enough for Victoria to notice the intention. "She wants me to take her hand," Victoria whispered, emotional. "Take it slowly," Robert advised. "Let her control the contact." Victoria extended her hand slowly. Emily hesitated for a moment, then lightly touched her mother's fingers. It was only for a few seconds, but it was the first physical contact initiated by Emily in years. "She touched me," Victoria said, tears in her eyes. "She really touched me." From that day on, the sessions became more intimate. Emily began to show clear preferences. She liked gentle movements in the morning, more energetic ones in the afternoon. She preferred classical music over electronic sounds. She responded better when fewer people were in the room. Victoria also began to understand that her constant presence made a difference. On days when she had to travel for work, Robert reported that Emily became more withdrawn, less responsive. "She misses you," Robert said after a 2-day trip to Washington, D.C. "She kept looking for you the whole time." "What do you mean, looking?" "She'd glance at the door every time she heard footsteps in the hallway, and when I started the dances, she'd look around as if waiting for someone." This information completely changed Victoria's perspective on her importance in Emily's life. For years, she had believed her daughter didn't care about her presence or absence. Discovering that Emily not only noticed but missed her was both revealing and painful. And, "Robert, I need to cut back on my trips. Mrs. Thompson, I know your work is important, not more important than her. I'll restructure the company so I can work from home more." And that's how Victoria began to transform not just her relationship with Emily, but her entire philosophy of life. Meetings she once considered crucial were delegated. Trips that seemed indispensable were cancelled. Contracts requiring her physical presence were renegotiated. The company's board soon noticed the changes. "Victoria, we need to talk," said Michael Henderson, Executive Vice President, during a tense meeting. "Your partners are concerned about your frequent absences." "My absences haven't affected any of the company's results," Victoria replied calmly. "It's not about results, it's about leadership. A CEO can't just disappear for hours without explanation." "I didn't disappear. I'm working from home when needed. And delegating important decisions to subordinates, that's not like you." Victoria took a deep breath. She knew this conversation would come eventually. "Michael, do you have children?" "I do, too." "Have you ever had to choose between an important meeting and an urgent need of theirs?" "Well, yes, but—" "And what did you choose?" Michael hesitated. "The kids, of course, but this is different. Your situations were occasional emergencies." "And mine isn't an emergency? For 8 years, my daughter lived in an isolated world. Now, for the first time, she's connecting with me. That's not an occasional emergency, Michael. It's the opportunity of my life to truly be her mother." The conversation ended without resolution, but Victoria knew the issue would come up again. What she didn't expect was how quickly rumors would spread through the company. A few days later, Jennifer informed her that people were whispering in the halls that she was going through personal problems and might not be mentally fit to lead the company. "Who's spreading these rumors?" Victoria asked. "I couldn't identify the source, but it seems someone is suggesting your absences are a sign of some kind of burnout." Victoria felt a mix of anger and sadness. For years, she had dedicated herself entirely to the company, building a respected commercial empire across the country. Now that she had finally found a balance between work and personal life, she was being questioned. "Jennifer, schedule a meeting with the board for next week. It's time to clarify a few things." That evening, during the dance session with Emily, Victoria was visibly tense. Robert noticed immediately. "Is something wrong, Ms. Thompson?" Work problems. Nothing you need to worry about. If I may say so, you seem different today. And Emily noticed too. Victoria looked at her daughter, who did indeed seem less responsive than usual. How did she notice? She's very sensitive to the moods of people around her. When you're tense, she gets tense too. Victoria tried to relax, but it was hard. The pressure at work was mounting, and she knew difficult decisions were coming. Robert, can I ask you a personal question? Of course. Have you ever had to choose between what was expected of you and what you knew was right? Robert thought for a moment. Many times. When my sister was sick, everyone said I should accept the situation and move on. But I knew she needed more attention, more care. I fought hard to get her better treatments. And did you succeed? Some of them. Not all that she needed, but some. And even though in the end it wasn't enough, I know I did everything I could. Sometimes I feel like I'm letting everyone down, Victoria confessed. My partners think I'm neglecting the company. My employees think I'm distant. And for years, Emily lived thinking I didn't care about her. Ms. Thompson, can I say something? Go ahead. In these months working here, I've seen a lot. I've seen you working yourself to the bone, losing sleep over contracts, carrying the weight of tough decisions. But I've never seen you so alive as in these past few weeks. Victoria looked at Robert in surprise. Alive? Yes. You've always been a strong, determined woman, but now there's something different, a joy that wasn't there before. Victoria watched Emily, who had stopped trying to follow the movements and was now just observing the two adults talking. You're right. For the first time in years, I feel complete. Then you already have your answer. What answer? About what the right thing to do is. That night, Victoria stayed up late thinking about Robert's words. She had built a solid career, a respected company, an impeccable reputation, but only in these past few weeks had she discovered what it truly meant to be happy. The board meeting was scheduled for Friday. Victoria knew it would be a decisive moment, not just for her career but for her family's future. The morning of the meeting, during the dance session, Emily did something unprecedented. As Victoria and Robert moved through the steps, she tried to rise from her wheelchair. Robert, look, Victoria whispered. Emily couldn't stand completely, but she managed to support some of her weight on her legs for a few seconds before sitting back down. She's never tried that before, Robert said, moved. Never. The doctor said she didn't have enough strength or coordination. Maybe she's more motivated now. Victoria knelt in front of Emily and slowed the arm movements. To her surprise, Emily tried to stand again, this time holding herself up longer. She's trying to dance standing up, Victoria realized. She is. Would you like to try helping her? Victoria gently held Emily's arms, supporting her so she could stand. For a few minutes, mother and daughter danced together, Emily leaning on Victoria's arms, both moving to the same gentle rhythm that had become their secret language. It was in that moment Victoria fully understood what she needed to do. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now, back to the story. The board meeting began exactly at 2 in the afternoon. Victoria entered the room knowing this would be one of the most important conversations of her professional life. Victoria, thank you for accepting our request for this meeting, Michael Henderson began. We all deeply respect your work and your dedication to the company over the years. But, continued Richard Bennett, another board member, we're concerned about recent changes in your professional stance. What changes specifically? Victoria asked, keeping her voice calm. Your absences have become frequent, said Elizabeth Morgan, the only other woman on the board. Important meetings have been postponed, decisions delegated, and there are rumors about personal issues. Let me clarify one thing right away, Victoria said, standing up. I have no personal issues that compromise my leadership. What I do have is a daughter who, after 8 years, is finally responding to treatment, and that requires my presence and attention. Victoria, we all understand family matters are important, Michael said, but you have responsibilities to hundreds of employees and thousands of shareholders. And you think I've forgotten that? You haven't, but clearly your priorities have shifted, Richard observed. Victoria took a deep breath. You're right. My priorities have changed. For 8 years, I devoted myself entirely to this company. I worked weekends, holidays, late nights. I cancelled vacations, postponed personal commitments, sacrificed relationships. And do you know what that got me? The board fell silent. It got me professional success, but it cost me the chance to know my own daughter. For 8 years, she lived in the same house as me, but we were strangers to each other. Until a few weeks ago, I realized she was just waiting for me to learn her language. Victoria, no one is questioning your dedication as a mother, Elizabeth said. We're questioning whether you can still maintain the same level of professional dedication. And the answer is no. I can't work 14-hour days anymore. I won't cancel commitments with my daughter to handle issues others can resolve. I won't prioritize meetings over her unique moments of progress. The room fell completely silent. Victoria, Michael said, are you telling us you can no longer fully perform your duties as CEO? I'm saying I'll perform my duties differently, in a way that lets me be both a competent executive and a present mother. And if that isn't enough for the company's demands, Richard asked. Victoria looked at each board member. Then you'll have to decide whether you prefer a CEO who works 24 hours a day and delivers results, or one who works 10 hours a day and delivers the same results. That's not the same thing, Michael protested. Why not? Have our financial results declined recently? Have we lost any major clients? Has any project failed because of my absences? None of them could answer affirmatively. Then what exactly is the problem? Victoria continued. The problem is you're used to a CEO with no personal life. Now that I have one, you don't know how to handle it. Victoria, you need to understand our perspective, said Sarah. A company of this magnitude requires total leadership, absolute dedication. And you need to understand my perspective. For years, I believed in that. I believed being a good executive meant sacrificing everything else. But I've discovered that isn't true. I can be an excellent CEO by working smarter, not just harder. The meeting continued for another hour, with arguments from both sides. In the end, it was agreed that Victoria would have 1 month to prove she could maintain the company's efficiency with her new routine. Is this an ultimatum? She asked. It's an opportunity, replied Michael. That night, Victoria told Robert everything during Emily's therapy session. They gave me a month to prove I can be both a mother and an executive at the same time. And can you? I have to. I can't imagine my life without these daily sessions with Emily anymore, but I also can't throw away years of work building this company. Maybe the answer isn't choosing one over the other, Robert suggested. What do you mean? Maybe it's about finding a way to integrate both. Victoria reflected on that possibility. Over the next few weeks, she began experimenting with new ways of working. She started holding some meetings via video call from home, always with Emily by her side. She discovered she could review contracts while watching her daughter's therapy sessions. She learned to negotiate over the phone during Emily's activity breaks. To her surprise, this new way of working not only maintained her efficiency but improved it in some ways. Being more relaxed and happy made her more creative in solving problems. Having fewer in-person meetings forced her to be more objective and decisive. Limited time made her focus on what truly mattered. But the biggest test came in the 3rd week, when one of the company's top clients threatened to cancel a $1 million contract due to disagreements over delivery timelines. I need to fly to New York City today, Jennifer informed her. The client refuses to negotiate over the phone. Victoria looked at Emily, who was having a particularly good day, responding better than ever to her activities. Jennifer, schedule the meeting for tomorrow morning. I'll go and come back the same day. Victoria, they want a decision today. If we don't give it, they'll find another supplier. This was exactly the kind of situation Victoria feared, a decision that could significantly impact the company, but required her absence during an important moment for Emily. Robert, I need your opinion. About what, Miss Thompson? If I travel today, I'll miss an important day with Emily. If I don't go, I might lose a crucial client. Robert watched Emily, who was arranging small colored blocks on the table. May I suggest a third option? What? Take Emily with you. To New York City, for a business meeting. Why not? You can leave her with me at the hotel while you're in the meeting. She might even benefit from the change of scenery. Victoria had never considered this possibility. For years, she had kept her professional and personal lives completely separate. Do you think she'd handle the trip well? As long as her routine is maintained, yes, and I'd be there to help. 2 hours later, Victoria was on the company's private jet with Emily and Robert, flying to New York City. It was the first time she'd traveled for work with her daughter, and she was nervous about how it would go. To her surprise, Emily responded well to the trip. The gentle motion of the plane soothed her, and she spent most of the time watching the clouds through the window. She's enjoying it, Robert observed. It seems so. I've never seen her so calm during a change of environment. The meeting in New York City was tense but productive. Victoria managed to renegotiate the terms of the contract, keeping the client and preserving the company's profit margin. What surprised her most was how focused and energized she felt during the negotiation. "You seem different today," the client remarked. "More centered." "What do you mean?" "I can't explain it." "More confident, maybe. Less anxious." During the flight back, Victoria reflected on that comment. She was beginning to realize that her new routine wasn't just making her a better mother, but also a more balanced professional. "Robert, can I ask you a strange question?" "Of course." "Do you think I was unhappy before? I mean, before we started the sessions with Emily?" Robert hesitated before answering. "You always seemed tired, like you were carrying a heavy burden." "And now?" "Now you seem lighter, more present." Victoria looked at Emily, who had fallen asleep during the flight. "She's completely changed my life, Robert, not just because of her progress, but because she's made me rethink what truly matters. And what truly matters, it's not about working less or working more, it's about working with purpose. For years, I worked because I felt I had something to prove. Now I work because I want to build a better future for her." When they returned home, Victoria was more determined than ever to prove to the board that her new approach was working. But she didn't expect the biggest test was yet to come. The following week, she received an unexpected call from Dr. William Parker. "Victoria, I need to talk to you about Emily's latest test results." "Is there a problem?" "Not a problem, an important discovery. Can you come to my office today?" Victoria felt her heart race. For years, she had dreaded calls like this. "Is it urgent?" "It's important. But don't worry, it's good news." A few hours later, Victoria was in the neurologist's office with Robert and Emily. "Doctor, what did you find?" "First, I want to congratulate you on Emily's extraordinary progress. In 20 years of practice, I've rarely seen such significant improvement." "Improvement?" "The tests show brain activity that wasn't there a few months ago. Areas responsible for communication and social interaction are much more active." Victoria's eyes welled up. "What does this mean exactly?" "It means the work you're doing at home is working better than any conventional treatment I could prescribe." "Robert, are you hearing this?" Victoria said, emotional. "I am, Mrs. Thompson." "Doctor," she continued, "are you saying the dances are actually helping?" "I'm saying more than that. I'm saying you've discovered a form of communication that's literally changing Emily's neural structure." "How is that possible?" "The brain is plastic, especially in children. When we find the right stimulation, it can form new connections. The activities you've developed are creating those connections." Robert and Victoria exchanged glances, moved. "Doctor, does this mean she can—" Victoria hesitated, afraid to ask. "Can what?" "Can she speak someday?" "Based on what I'm seeing in the tests, I'd say it's very likely. Maybe not in the conventional way, but she can certainly develop more elaborate forms of communication." Leaving the office, Victoria was euphoric. For the first time since Emily's diagnosis, she had received a truly optimistic prognosis. "Robert, do you realize what this means?" "It means Emily has a bright future ahead." "It means more than that. It means all those years when doctors told me not to expect too much were wrong." "Or maybe they weren't wrong at the time," Robert suggested. "Maybe Emily just needed the right approach." That night, during the dance session, Victoria watched Emily with completely new eyes. Every movement, every attempt at vocalization, every glance took on a different meaning. "Em, did you know you're a very special girl?" Victoria said, kneeling in front of her daughter. To her surprise, Emily maintained eye contact for several seconds. Then, slowly, she reached out and touched her mother's face. "She's never done that before," Victoria whispered. "She's learning to express affection," Robert observed. "Robert, I need to tell you something important." "What is it?" "Tomorrow I'll face the board for the last time, and no matter what they decide, I want you to know these past few months have been the best of my life." "Mine too, Ms. Thompson. If they decide I can't continue as CEO, I'll accept it. But I won't give up this routine with Emily." "You won't have to. I'm sure you'll find a way to balance everything." "How can you be so certain?" "Because you've already proven it's possible. Look at the company's results these past weeks. Look at Emily's progress. You've managed to excel in both areas." Victoria smiled, feeling a confidence she hadn't experienced in a long time. "You know what, Robert? Even if I lose the CEO position tomorrow, I won't consider it a defeat." "Why not?" "Because I've finally discovered who I really am. And I've realized that being Emily's mother is the most important job of my life." The next morning, Victoria prepared for her final meeting with the board. She'd spent the night organizing data, spreadsheets and reports, proving the company hadn't just maintained its efficiency, but had improved in several key areas. Before leaving, she did the morning session with Emily. During the movements, she felt a peace she'd never known before important meetings. "Em, Mommy has some work things to take care of, but I'll be back soon to dance with you. Okay." Emily looked into her mother's eyes and, to everyone's surprise, gave a slight nod. "She understood," Robert exclaimed. "She sure did. Our girl gets smarter every day." The board meeting began with Victoria presenting the financial results for the past month. Profits up 12%, 2 major new contracts signed, 0 customer complaints about delays or quality. "Victoria, the numbers are impressive," Michael admitted, "but our concern wasn't just about short-term results." "What was it about then?" "Sustainability. Your ability to maintain this pace long-term," Richard explained. "And you think I can't sustain it?" "We think you're pushing yourself beyond limits to prove a point," Sarah said. Victoria smiled. "Sarah, can I be honest with you?" "Of course. For the past few years, I did push myself beyond limits. I worked to exhaustion, slept poorly, ate poorly, had no social life. Do you really think that was sustainable?" "Well, you kept it up for a long time, and it was slowly killing me. Now I work smarter, sleep better, have moments of genuine joy with my daughter. Do you truly think that's less sustainable?" The board fell silent. "Victoria," Michael said, "we'd like to propose an arrangement." "What kind of arrangement?" "You remain CEO, but with a few conditions." "What conditions?" "First, you need a more active executive vice president who can take on responsibilities when you're unavailable." "Agreed." "Second, board meetings become weekly, not monthly." "Agreed." "Third, you must present a formal plan for balancing your maternal and executive responsibilities." Victoria took a deep breath. "I accept the first 2 conditions, but I won't accept the third." "Why? Why didn't you ever ask me to present a plan for how I balance other areas of my life with work? You never asked for a plan about how I manage my gym time, or my hobbies, or my social life. Why does my motherhood have to be treated differently?" "Because it's affecting your work more visibly," argued Richard. "Richard, my motherhood is making me a more complete, happier, more creative person. If it affects my work, it's for the better." The discussion continued for another hour. In the end, the board voted unanimously to keep Victoria as CEO on the condition that she accept a more active vice president. "Victoria," Michael said at the end, "we want you to know our concern came from a place of care. You're a valuable executive and we don't want to lose you." "Thank you. And I want you to know I understand your concerns. But I hope you also understand that being a better mother has made me a better executive." Leaving the meeting, Victoria immediately called Robert. "How did it go?" he asked eagerly. "I'm still CEO, And I'm still a full-time mother to Emily. Congratulations, Miss Victoria. Robert, I couldn't have done any of this without you. You changed our lives. We changed each other's lives, Miss Victoria. That afternoon, during their dance session, Victoria told Emily about the meeting. Mommy is going to keep working, but I'll always have time to dance with you. Always, always, always. Emily looked into her mother's eyes and slowly formed something that looked very much like a real smile. Robert, did you see? I did. She's happy. For the first time in a long time, I'm happy too. Truly happy. In the months that followed, Victoria's life found a balance she had never experienced before. The new Vice President, David Reynolds, proved to be extremely competent, allowing her to delegate responsibilities without compromising quality. Emily continued to progress impressively. She began vocalizing more, stood for longer periods, and developed her own way of communicating through gestures that Victoria and Robert learned to interpret. Dr. William, how do you explain such rapid progress? Victoria asked during a follow-up appointment. It's simple. Emily always had potential. She just needed someone who spoke her language. And the dancing really made all the difference? The dancing was the means, but what truly made the difference was the constant presence, the love, the dedication. It was having a mother who finally learned to be there. 6 months after that first dance in the office, something happened that Victoria would never forget. During a particularly joyful session, Emily managed to stand on her own for almost a full minute. Robert, do you see? I see, Miss Victoria, she's almost ready to take a few steps. Do you really think so? I'm sure of it. And he was right. 2 weeks later, Emily took her first 3 wobbly but determined steps toward her mother, who danced with open arms. She walked, Robert, she walked. She did, our girl walked. In that moment, Victoria felt an indescribable emotion. It wasn't just the joy of seeing her daughter walk. It was the certainty that she had made the right decisions, that she had found the perfect balance between being a mother and a professional. You're amazing, she said, scooping her daughter into her arms. To her surprise, Emily whispered something almost imperceptible. Robert, did you hear? I did. She's trying to say Mama. Say it again. Mama. Ma. Victoria burst into tears. Her daughter had spoken. Just 2 syllables, but they were the most important of her life. In the following months, Emily's progress accelerated even more. She managed to form small sentences, walk longer distances, and even show clear preferences through simple words. The company also thrived. Under the new shared management of Victoria and David, profits increased by 30%, and the company was recognized as one of the best places to work in the country. Victoria, Michael said during a board meeting, we need to admit we were wrong. Wrong about what? About your shift in priorities. The company has never been better. Thank you. But I want you to understand, I didn't change my priorities. I just learned to balance them better. A year after the first dance in the office, Victoria made a decision that surprised everyone. She announced she would create a division of the company dedicated exclusively to developing assistive technologies for children with special needs. Robert will be the co-director of this new division, she announced during the launch meeting. He'll be responsible for ensuring our products truly meet the needs of families. Miss Victoria, I don't have the technical background for this, Robert protested. You have something far more valuable. You have real-life experience. You understand these children in a way no expert ever could. The project was an immediate success. Families from across the country sought out the company for customized solutions. Victoria discovered there was a huge, underserved market for businesses that truly understood special needs. Robert, do you realize what we've created? She said during the first year of the new division. We've found a way to help other families like ours. We've created more than that. We've created a purpose. 2 years after the first dance, Emily surprised everyone during a company presentation to investors. Victoria had brought her daughter to the office, as she often did. And during a break in the meeting, Emily stood up from her wheelchair and walked to her mother. "Mommy, dance," she said, her voice clear and determined. The investors were moved to see Victoria and Emily dancing together in the middle of the conference room. The video of that moment went viral on social media, and the company received thousands of messages of support from families in similar situations. "Victoria," one investor said, "in 20 years of my career, I've never seen a presentation so authentic and touching. Thank you, but I want to make it clear I don't use my daughter for marketing. She's part of my life, and my life includes my work. And that's exactly what makes your company so special. You don't just sell products, you live your client's reality." 3 years later, the assistive technology division had become the company's most profitable. Emily, now 11, could communicate in simple sentences and walk with increasing independence. "Robert, do you remember the day I told you you weren't just our driver anymore?" "I do, Miss Victoria. Back then, I said you were part of the family. Today, I want to make it official." "How so?" "I want you to be Emily's godfather. Officially." Robert felt his eyes well up. "It would be an honor, Miss Victoria." "Robert, stop calling me Miss Victoria. We're family now. Call me Vicky." During the godparent ceremony, Emily surprised everyone by giving a short speech. "Robert, good godfather, dance with me. Mommy, happy. Me, happy." The sentences weren't perfect, but they were filled with love and gratitude. "Em, do you want to say something to Mommy too?" Robert asked. Emily looked at Victoria and said with the clearest voice she'd ever used, "Mommy, best. Mommy, world." Victoria broke down in tears. All the struggles, all the hard decisions, all the moments of doubt, they were all worth it to hear those words. 5 years after the first dance in the office, Victoria Thompson was invited to an international conference on corporate inclusion and diversity. Her company had become a global reference in assistive technologies. "Robert, would you like to come with me to London?" "Me? To an international conference? You're the co-director of the most important division in the company. Of course you should come. What about Emily?" "She's coming with us, of course. She loves traveling now." During the conference, Victoria shared her story with an audience of over 1,000 executives from around the world. 5 years ago, I believed being a good executive meant sacrificing everything else. Today, I know that being a good executive means being a whole person. And for me, being a whole person means being a full-time mother to Emily. The talk ended with a dance performance by Victoria, Robert, and Emily on stage. The audience rose to their feet, moved. "Mom," Emily said after the performance, using the full word for the first time, "You famous?" "No, sweetheart. We are famous. Our family is famous for showing that love and dedication can move mountains." 6 years later, Emily was attending a mainstream school with specialized support. Her communication skills had improved tremendously, and she showed a special talent for math. "Vicky," Robert said during a dance session, "do you realize what Emily has become? She's become a normal girl with special needs but with a bright future ahead. She's become more than that. She's proof that every child has potential, no matter their initial limitations." "Robert, can I confess something?" "Of course. Sometimes I wonder what my life would be like if I hadn't arrived early at the office that day." "How do you think it would be?" "I'd probably still be working 16 hours a day, thinking that made me important, and Emily would likely still be in her silent world." "But you arrived early, and you discovered there are things more important than meetings and contracts. I discovered that the most important thing is being present in the lives of the people we love." 8 years after the first dance, Emily, now 16, did something that left Victoria speechless. During a company meeting, the girl stood up and said, "I want to work. Company. Mommy. Help. Other kids. Em, you want to work at the company when you grow up?" "Yes, Mommy. Want help families. Like ours." Victoria looked at Robert, moved. "She wants to follow our work. She wants to keep helping other kids like her. Robert, do you realize we've created a legacy, not just a company, but a purpose that will live on through her?" 10 years after the first dance in the office, Victoria was preparing for a very special moment. Emily, now 18, was graduating from high school. Her communication skills had improved so much that she could give full presentations on assistive technologies. "Mom," Emily said the night before graduation, "thank you." "Thank you for what, sweetheart?" "For never giving up on me." "Em, I would never give up on you. You're the most important thing in my life." "I know, it was hard learning my language. It was the best thing I ever learned in my life." During the graduation ceremony, Emily was chosen to give the farewell speech for her class. Her words were simple, but deeply touching. "All of us special, our way, important, to find people who understand our language. Thank you, my mom, Godfather Robert, for learning to dance with me." The audience stood up in applause. Victoria cried with emotion and pride. "Robert, our girl has become a speaker. Our girl has become an inspiration to everyone." After graduation, Emily began working officially at the company, initially as an assistant in the assistive technology division. Her unique perspective as a user of the products developed by the company brought valuable insights for constant improvements. "Mom," she said during a meeting, "product, good, but can improve if add dance function." "Dance function?" "Yes, kids, like me, respond better to movement, music, products, should include that." Emily's suggestion led to the development of an entirely new product line integrating movement and music into assistive technology. It was an instant success. "Em, your idea revolutionized our product line," said Robert proudly. "Just gave idea because you taught me that dance heals." 15 years after that first dance, Victoria was reflecting on her journey during an interview for a business magazine. "Victoria, how would you define the moment that changed your life?" "The moment I stopped working to impress others and started working to build something meaningful." "And when was that?" "When I saw my driver dancing for my daughter and realized I'd wasted years trying to be the perfect executive when I should have tried to be the present mother." "Any regrets?" "Just one, not discovering it sooner." "And what's your greatest pride?" "Seeing my daughter working by my side, helping other families find their own language of love." Today, 20 years after that first dance in the office, Victoria, Robert, and Emily continue working together. The company has become a global leader in assistive technologies, but more importantly, it has created a worldwide community of families who found hope and solutions through their work. Emily, now 28, is the Director of Product Development and one of the most sought-after speakers at inclusion conferences. She still dances every day with her mother and godfather, keeping alive the tradition that transformed their lives. "Mom," she said recently, "you saved my life when you learned to dance with me." "No, Em. You saved my life when you taught me that success isn't measured in hours worked, but in moments of happiness shared." Robert, now 60, is recognized as one of the foremost experts in nonverbal communication with special needs children. He's developed methodologies used in schools and clinics worldwide. "Robert," Victoria said during the company's 20th anniversary celebration, "do you realize that awkward dance in my office changed thousands of lives?" "Vicky, that awkward dance taught me that sometimes the simplest solutions are the most powerful. And it taught me that vulnerability isn't weakness, it's courage." The company continues to grow, but always upholds the values Victoria learned on that transformative day. That work has meaning when it serves a greater purpose, that true leadership includes vulnerability, and that the most important success is measured by the ability to make a difference in people's lives. Emily still dances, now teaching other children and adults that communication can happen in ways we never imagined. Her therapeutic dance sessions have become one of the company's most sought-after programs. Dance is universal language, she often says in her talks. Everyone can learn if they truly want to connect. And Victoria? She's finally found the balance she sought all her life. She remains a respected and successful executive, but is now also a present mother, a true friend, and a whole woman. Every morning, before starting her workday, she still dances with Emily and Robert. It's a sacred ritual that reminds them all that life's most important moments don't happen in boardrooms or on spreadsheets. They happen when we stop trying to be perfect and start being present. When we set aside our professional armor and let our hearts guide us. When we discover that true power isn't about ruling an empire, but about dancing clumsily to the sound of our loved ones' laughter. The end. Now tell me, what did you think of this story of transformation and love? Did Victoria make the right choice by prioritizing her daughter? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more heartwarming stories like this one.